DEFINAL reshaping. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the observation deck of Orbital Station Unity, her gaze fixed on the blue-green jewel of Earth below. For 20 years, she had dedicated her life to humanity's integration into the Galactic Confederation. 20 years of diplomatic missions, technological exchanges, and cultural adaptations, all to prove that humans deserved a place among the stars. And for 20 years, the answer had been the same. Not yet. The communication panel on her wrist blinked. A message from Earth's Unified Council. She took a deep breath and opened it. "They rejected us again," said President Amara Chen, her face tight with controlled anger. "Third and final application. The Confederation has officially closed our case." Elena's fingers tightened around the railing. What reason this time? The usual. Humanity's inherently unpredictable nature poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. They've added a new clause. We're prohibited from expanding beyond our solar system for another century. A century. Elena couldn't hide her shock. That's a death sentence for our deep space programs, President Chen finished. It's containment, Elena, not mentorship. The revelation wasn't surprising, but the finality of it struck Elena like a physical blow. For decades, Earth had restructured its societies, economies, and technologies to meet Confederation standards. They'd ended wars, solved climate crises, and unified under a single governmental body, all to prove they could be responsible galactic citizens. "Report to Geneva immediately," President Chen said. "It's time for Horizon Protocol." The transmission ended, leaving Elena staring at her reflection in the darkened screen. Horizon Protocol. The contingency plan they'd hoped they'd never need. 12 hours later, Elena stood in a vast underground chamber beneath Lake Geneva. The room was filled with Earth's highest-ranking military officers, scientists, and political leaders, people who had shaped humanity's course among the stars. President Chen addressed the assembly. "For 50 years, we've played by their rules. We've modified our societies, limited our expansion, and shared our innovations, yet the Confederation continues to find reasons to deny us full membership." She activated a holographic display showing the Confederation's territory, 57 species across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. "Our intelligence now confirms what some of us have long suspected. The Confederation has no intention of ever admitting humanity as equals. Their internal communications reveal they consider us evolutionarily aberrant and developmentally concerning." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "They fear us," said General Takahashi from the United Space Force. "Our rate of adaptation and technological advancement frightens them." "Precisely," President Chen nodded. "Most Confederation species took thousands of years to develop technologies we mastered in decades. They find our cognitive patterns disturbingly unpredictable, and our problem-solving methods potentially destabilizing." Elena felt cold anger settling in her stomach. "So all this time," President Chen confirmed, "they'd been studying us, containing us, and ensuring we remain isolated while they decide what to do about the human problem." The room erupted in angry voices until the president raised her hand for silence. "This brings us to Horizon Protocol." She gestured to a tall, dark-skinned man with silver temples. "Dr. Malik Singh, please brief the assembly." Dr. Singh approached the central platform. Elena knew him by reputation, a brilliant physicist whose work on dimensional mechanics had been classified at the highest levels. 10 years ago, Dr. Singh began, a research vessel encountered an anomaly at the edge of our solar system. Inside was a damaged ship of unknown design. The pilot was barely alive, a being unlike any species in the Confederation registry. The hologram shifted to show a crystalline, almost translucent being with a fluid internal structure. They called themselves a drift walker. Their species navigates through what they term the spaces between spaces, dimensional corridors that exist outside the Confederation's hyperspace network. Singh's eyes gleamed with excitement. Before dying, the the Driftwalker gifted us with theoretical knowledge of their propulsion technology. For the past decade, we've been developing our own version in secret facilities throughout the solar system. Elena leaned forward, stunned. You're saying we have FTL technology that doesn't rely on Confederation hyperspace gates? Exactly, Commander. We call it the fold drive. It doesn't just move through space. It slips between dimensional boundaries. The Confederation can't track it, can't control it, and most importantly, doesn't believe it's possible. President Chen stepped forward again. While we've maintained the public facade of cooperation with the Confederation, we've been preparing for independence. The Horizon Protocol includes colony ships, exploration vessels, and defense craft, all equipped with fold drives and built in secret lunar shipyards. How many ships? Asked Elena. 327 vessels capable of carrying 2 million people in the first wave, answered General Takahashi, with construction capacity to build more once established. Elena's mind raced with the implications. You're planning an exodus, abandoning the solar system entirely. Not abandoning, corrected President Chen. Expanding on our terms, not theirs. Humanity deserves its place among the stars. If the Confederation won't give it to us, we'll forge our own path. As the meeting progressed, Elena learned that Horizon Protocol went far beyond ships and technology. For years, Earth had been carefully selecting colonists, training crews, and developing terraforming techniques that wouldn't rely on Confederation methods. There's more, said Dr. Singh as the briefing neared its end. 3 months ago, we made contact with other Driftwalkers. They're a nomadic civilization that has deliberately remained outside Confederation influence. When they learned what we've accomplished with their technology, they offered an alliance. President Chen's expression was solemn. The vote before this council is whether to activate Horizon Protocol in full. Once initiated, there's no turning back. The Confederation will view our actions as rebellion. The vote was unanimous. 3 days later, Confederation Ambassador Exil Thorin arrived unannounced at the Unified Council headquarters in Geneva. The towering, 6-limbed diplomat's chromatophores flashed with agitation patterns as he was escorted into the president's office. Explain these energy signatures, he demanded without preamble, projecting a hologram showing anomalous readings throughout Earth's solar system. President Chen regarded the alien calmly. Those are our internal affairs, Ambassador. Internal affairs. Zelforin's translator couldn't fully convey his incredulity. Our monitoring stations have detected quantum fluctuations consistent with prohibited dimensional research. The Sovereignty Council demands an immediate inspection of all your facilities. No, said President Chen simply. The ambassador's chromatophores pulsed deep red. Perhaps I wasn't clear. This isn't a request. Your species has been denied Confederation membership and placed under development restrictions. Compliance is mandatory. Elena, standing at the president's side, stepped forward. Ambassador, for 50 years, humanity has attempted to join your Confederation as equals. For 50 years, we've been studied, restricted, and manipulated. Your internal communications make it clear you never intended to accept us. Thorin's posture stiffened. You've intercepted secure Confederation transmissions. This is an even greater violation. The violation, said President Chen, is the Confederation's dishonesty. You've kept us isolated while you decided whether to eventually sterilize our evolutionary aberration or merely keep us contained forever. These are serious accusations, the ambassador said, his tone suddenly diplomatic. There must be a misunderstanding. The Confederation only wishes to ensure developing species don't advance too quickly for their cultural maturity. We've matured enough to recognize a cage, even one built from treaties and regulations, Elena replied. A distant rumbling vibrated through the building as the sky outside darkened. Zelforin moved to the window, his compound eyes widening at the sight. Across the globe, massive vessels were rising from hidden facilities, oceans, deserts, and mountain ranges. The ships were unlike any human design the Confederation had documented, their hulls gleaming with the distinctive iridescence of dimensional fold technology. "What have you done?" the ambassador whispered. "We're leaving," said President Chen. "Humanity will find its own path among the stars." Exelforan's communicator erupted with urgent messages as Confederation monitoring stations detected more ships rising from Earth's moon and the Martian colonies. "This is madness," he said. "You can't possibly. These technologies are beyond what you thought we could achieve." Elena asked. "That has been humanity's story since we first looked up at the stars." The ambassador's final chromatophore display showed a pattern Elena had never seen before. Later, Driftwalker allies would translate it for her, fear mixed with awe. As the first wave of ships reached Earth orbit, Elena Reyes boarded her command vessel, the ESS Pathfinder. From its bridge, she watched as humanity prepared to leave behind the solar system that had been its cradle and its cage. The Confederation had pushed humanity too far. Now, the stars would witness humanity's response. Beyond the boundaries. The Confederation's response came swiftly. Within hours of the Exodus fleet's appearance, a diplomatic transmission arrived from the Sovereignty Council itself, the highest governing body of the 57 Species Alliance. "This is High Counselor Zavax of the Galactic Confederation," announced the massive gelatinous being whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "Your unauthorized technological development and imminent departure constitute severe violations of Containment Treaty 359B. Stand down immediately or face consequences." On the bridge of the ESS Pathfinder, Elena exchanged glances with Dr. Singh. "They don't understand what we've built, do they?" "No," Singh replied, his fingers dancing across the fold drive controls. "They still think we're using some variation of their hyperspace technology, something they can disable or control." Elena opened a channel to the entire Exodus fleet. "All vessels, final preparations. Fold coordinates are being transmitted. Commence dimensional transition in 15 minutes. President Chen's voice came through on a private channel. "Commander Reyes, the Confederation has deployed 43 warships through their hyperspace gates. They'll reach Earth orbit in approximately 20 minutes. "They won't catch us," Elena assured her. "What about the evacuation?" "Proceeding as planned. The second and third waves are boarding now. Once you've established the colony, the fold drive specifications will be transmitted to our remaining facilities. We've planned for this, Elena. Humanity won't be caged." At the edge of the solar system, where the Driftwalker ship had been discovered a decade earlier, 12 crystalline vessels shimmered into existence. Unlike the mechanical ships of humans or the biomechanical craft of the Confederation, Driftwalker vessels resembled living crystals that flowed through space rather than traveling through it. "Driftwalker allies are in position," reported Elena's navigation officer. "They're creating what they call a dimensional anchor for our transition." On the main view screen, Elena watched as Earth grew smaller, the cradle of humanity, soon to be distant history rather than home. She felt a momentary pang of loss, but it was overshadowed by fierce determination. The Confederation had forced this choice. "Fold drives at full capacity," announced Dr. Singh. "Dimensional boundary weakening at coordinates. We're ready." Elena took a deep breath. Begin transition sequence. Across the vast fleet, 327 ships activated their fold drives simultaneously. The space around them seemed to ripple, as though reality itself was a pond disturbed by falling stones. Stars blurred, stretched, and then folded inward like a closing book. From the Confederation warships approaching at maximum speed, the sight was incomprehensible. The human fleet didn't accelerate away or enter hyperspace through established gates. Instead, the vessels simply ceased to exist in normal space, leaving behind only quantum echoes that faded within seconds. High Counselor Zivax's communication to Earth was frantic. "What technology have you deployed? Where have your ships gone?" President Chen's reply was calm. "Beyond your reach, Counselor. Humanity has found another path." Within the dimensional corridor, the Exodus fleet traveled through what the Driftwalkers called the spaces between spaces. It wasn't hyperspace as the Confederation understood it, but something more fundamental, the boundary layers between dimensional realities. To Elena, looking through the viewports, it appeared as though they sailed through a sea of fractured light. Colors that had no names in human language flowed around the ships, while mathematical patterns formed and dissolved in the void. "It's beautiful," she whispered. The Driftwalker guide ships led the way, their crystalline forms perfectly adapted to this strange environment. Through the communication system they had helped humans develop, they shared their thoughts. "Your species moves differently through the fold," observed the Driftwalker identified as Luminous Pattern Speaker. "Your vessels create unique harmonics in the dimensional fabric. We have not seen this before." Dr. Singh nodded, monitoring the readings. "Our technology is an adaptation of yours, filtered through human understanding. We may have implemented it differently." "Different paths to the same destination," agreed the Driftwalker. "This is why we sought contact. Your species thinks in patterns unlike any we have encountered in our millennia of wandering." The journey through the fold lasted 3 days by human reckoning, though time flowed strangely in the dimensional corridor. During this time, Elena learned more about the Driftwalkers and their history. "We were once part of what you call the Confederation," explained Luminous Pattern Speaker, "the first species to develop dimensional travel. But when others arose who preferred the more stable hyperspace network, our methods were deemed chaotic and unpredictable. We chose to depart rather than conform. So the Confederation has a history of controlling technological development," Elena noted. "It is their primary purpose," the Driftwalker confirmed. "Not malevolent as you might understand it, but driven by fear of the unknown. They believe that by controlling how species advance, they prevent chaos." On the 4th day, the dimensional fabric around the fleet began to shift. Ahead, a boundary formed, a transition point back to normal space. "We approached the destination," announced Luminous Pattern Speaker. "A region beyond the Confederation's knowledge or influence." The fleet emerged into normal space near a cluster of stars that appeared on no Confederation chart. Before them lay a solar system with 2 habitable planets orbiting a stable yellow star, remarkably similar to Earth's sun. "We discovered this region centuries ago," explained the Driftwalker. "It exists within a dimensional fold that conventional hyperspace travel cannot detect. The Confederation has passed near this sector many times without discovering it." Initial scans confirmed what the Driftwalkers had promised. Both planets could support human life with minimal terraforming. The larger world, which the colonists named Nova Terra, featured vast oceans, breathable atmosphere, and land masses rich with resources. As the first colony ships began their descent, Elena received a transmission from Luminous Pattern Speaker. "There is something you should know about this region. The dimensional properties that conceal it also make it a nexus, a crossroads between realities. Other species who have been overlooked by the Confederation have found refuge here." The implications were enormous. "You're saying there's an entire hidden community of civilizations here?" "An alliance of the divergent," confirmed the Driftwalker. "Species that think differently, develop differently, exist differently. We call it the Nexus Accord. We believe humanity would be a valuable addition." On the surface of Nova Terra, Elena stood beneath an alien sky, watching as the first habitation modules were established. Around her, colonists moved with purpose and hope, their faces turned upward to the stars that would become their new home. Dr. Singh approached, his expression thoughtful. "The Driftwalkers have shared more of their technology with us. They believe our unique approach to fold dynamics could lead to innovations their species hasn't considered." "A true exchange," Elena noted. "Not the one-way guidance the Confederation offered." "Exactly. And the other Nexus species are already sending representatives. Apparently, news of how we developed fold technology independently has caused quite a stir." Over the following months, as the colony established itself and the remainder of humanity prepared for their own journey through the fold, Elena learned more about the Nexus Accord. Unlike the hierarchical confederation, the Accord was a loose alliance based on mutual benefit and knowledge exchange. Each species contributed according to their unique strengths and perspectives. 6 months after the initial exodus, long-range sensors detected a Confederation exploration vessel approaching the dimensional boundary of Nexus space. It moved cautiously, its sensors struggling to map anomalies it wasn't designed to understand. "They're looking for us," said General Takahashi, now overseeing the defense grid that protected the growing human settlements. The Driftwalkers were unconcerned. They cannot penetrate the dimensional fold without understanding principles their science rejects, Luminous Pattern Speaker assured them. They may glimpse echoes, nothing more. Nevertheless, Elena ordered observation posts established. Through these, they monitored Confederation communications and learned how their departure had affected galactic politics. Earth itself had become a point of contention within the Confederation. Some species argued for severe sanctions and military occupation, while others, particularly younger civilizations, questioned the policies that had driven humans to such desperate measures. They fear that other species might follow our example, Elena told the Colonial Leadership Council. The Midorians and Vex have both demanded reviews of their membership status, citing our case as evidence of Confederation bias against evolutionarily divergent species. 2 years after the Exodus, with human settlements flourishing and integration into the Nexus Accord proceeding smoothly, a lone Confederation diplomatic vessel appeared at the edge of Novaterra's system. It made no aggressive moves, instead broadcasting a continuous message on all frequencies. "To the representatives of humanity, we seek dialogue. The Confederation acknowledges mistakes were made. We request the opportunity to establish new relations on terms of mutual respect." The message played for weeks while the Colonial Council debated their response. Some argued for ignoring it entirely, while others saw strategic value in limited engagement. Elena, now Admiral of the growing human fleet, offered her perspective. "They don't come from strength but necessity. Our departure created ripples they can't control. The question isn't whether we respond, but what we demand in return for even listening." In the end, they permitted a single envoy to land. Zelforin, the same ambassador who had witnessed humanity's departure from Earth. The meeting took place in the colonial capital, now a thriving city of 30,000. Zelforin's chromatophores displayed patterns of astonishment as he was escorted through streets where humans worked alongside driftwalkers and other Nexus species. In the council chamber, President Chen, who had arrived with the third wave of colonists, greeted him with cool formality. "The Confederation has authorized me to offer full membership status," he began without preamble. "All restrictions would be lifted, and humanity's technological innovations would be welcomed as contributions to the greater galactic community." Elena couldn't help but laugh. "You still don't understand. We're not seeking your approval anymore." Zelforin's translator struggled to capture his complex emotional display. "What the commander means to say is that circumstances have changed." "No," Elena interrupted. "I meant exactly what I said. Look around you, Ambassador. We've built something better than what you offered. The Nexus Accord doesn't fear difference or try to control it. It celebrates it. The Confederation has existed for 50,000 years. Zelforin countered. It maintains order across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, and stagnates as a result, said Dr. Singh, who now led the Joint Human Driftwalker Research Institute. "Your fear of the unpredictable has cost you millennia of innovation." President Chen raised her hand for quiet. "Ambassador, you're welcome to establish an embassy here if the Confederation wishes. We'll maintain peaceful relations and even limited trade. But humanity has found its path, and it doesn't lead back to you." As Zelforin departed, Elena walked with him to his shuttle. The ambassador seemed troubled, his chromatophores displaying patterns she now recognized as deep uncertainty. "What my species could never explain to the Sovereignty Council," he said quietly, "is that we always admired humanity's potential. We feared it, yes. but we admired it too. Then you should have embraced it instead of trying to contain it, Elena replied. Hazelfor and looked up at the alien sky where ships of human and Nexus design moved freely. I believe you may be right, Commander. The stars will never see your species the same way again, and perhaps they will never see us the same way either. As his shuttle rose into the atmosphere, Elena turned back toward the city that humanity had built after being pushed too far. The Confederation had tried to determine humanity's place among the stars. Instead, humanity had found its own, and in doing so, changed the course of galactic history forever. In the dimensional spaces between realities, new pathways were forming. Connections that would eventually reshape the very structure of interstellar civilization. The age of containment was ending. The age of exploration had begun.